Hey friends, today we're making a Smart Cakes Copycat recipe. It's going to be the cinnamon cakes version. I love these cakes so much. They're a little bit pricey to order already made, so I decided to perfect a copycat recipe. There are other recipes out there that state they're a copycat. This one actually is all of the ingredients that is used in the original version. And I have worked on this recipe for so long that I have perfected it to where it tastes exactly like the Smart Cakes. Like I said, this is the cinnamon version. And this is not a really easy recipe. This recipe requires ingredients that you probably don't have at home. Because I love the cake so much, I decided to invest in some of these ingredients, and I want to show you how to make it. So we are going to start with 1 egg. This recipe will make 2 cakes. We are going to start with the egg whites only. This is an important step. You need to fluff up the egg whites. This is what adds height and this is what adds height to your cupcake recipe. Okay, so we're going to start by whipping these egg whites until they're stiff peaks. Okay, we are mixing these until we see some peaks in the batter. You can see right there how it looks. This is exactly, can you see that? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to add the egg yolk back in. We definitely need that healthy fats, those healthy fats. Okay, next we are going to have a ½ teaspoon of olive oil. Now, I have used avocado oil in this recipe as well, but for right now we are using olive oil. You can use either or. And now we're going to get a ½ teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, that was a little bit more, but that's okay. I love vanilla. Okay. These are the liquid ingredients. We're going to combine these with the mixer again. All right, this is what's going to make the cake fluffy. Now we are going to combine our dry ingredients, and we can just add them in from here. Use a ½ teaspoon of whey protein isolate, and it's going to be the vanilla flavor. So there's vanilla. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this, but this is what I'm going to use. This is a fiber. The fiber is very important in this recipe. This is what gives it the cake-like texture, and that's why they use the fiber. That's a ½ teaspoon. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of oat fiber. Now, this is not the same as oat flour. This will not spike your blood sugar, and it is definitely keto friendly. Next, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of flaxseed. 1 teaspoon flaxseed. We're going to use a full teaspoon of corn fiber. I will link all of these ingredients below because, like I said, you're not going to have them in your pantry. I had to order them. I've not used these for any other keto recipe that I've done, but it was worth it to make this recipe. We are going to do a ½ teaspoon of cellulose powder. The cellulose powder is what keeps it moist. 1 tablespoon of erythritol. Okay, we are also going to add 15 drops of liquid monk fruit. I like Lakanto. The reason why you're going to do 2 different types of sweeteners is because you don't want an aftertaste bitterness or a cooling effect. This balances out the sweeteners and doesn't dry out the cake as much. So here we're going to add 15 drops. Okay. We are going to do a ½ teaspoon is it a half teaspoon? I'm sorry, a 1/4 of teaspoon of salt. I use pink salt. 1/4 of teaspoon of cinnamon. And an 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. The nutmeg is pretty important in this recipe. That's what gives it the depth of flavor. Okay, we have added everything that we need, and we are going to go ahead and mix it again. All right, this is our batter. Okay, our batter is done. Now, I have the cutest little silicone cupcake holders. They have holders on the side, which I really like for recipes like this. So we are going to divide the batter into 2 and simply add it to our now I did spray these with non-stick cooking spray so that they wouldn't stick. There's 1. This makes 2 cakes. And there's 2. Now, the one thing that also makes this recipe taste so good is if you sprinkle a bit of erythritol on top before it cooks and a tiny amount of cinnamon. Because if you notice when you buy those Smart Cakes, they also have the same thing. Okay, our cute little cakes are ready. They are ready to go in the microwave for exactly 1 minute. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, 1 minute, they are done. Now I do have a high-powered microwave, so it takes me 1 minute to cook both of these at the same time. You can see that they just plop right out. They have a really good height on them. They don't deflate, which is really, really nice. If I had a taller cupcake mold, they would, if taller, I know they would grow even more instead of come out the sides. So I will link these cupcake molds in the bottom. They are super handy, especially with those little hands at the end. And then they have been sprinkled already with sweetener, but you can do just a little bit at the end also. They've got delicious cinnamon sprinkles up on top too, which just adds a touch of flavor. Cut them in half and just look at this. Wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it tastes exactly the same. And this is the different fibers that I added in here is what gives it that cake-like texture. Perfect. When you have these at home, you can make them all the time. And literally it takes probably 1 minute to put the ingredients together and 1 minute to cook it. You've got to try this. Really, really good.